we all remember the 2016 playoff game when you counted up the players and drew up the play to throw to Cook. I'm wondering, after Devontae was telling us about the one touchdown that you drew up on your hand, how often does that happen? How does that work? Can you kind of take us through the process? Like, you just have a thought pop into your head, or how does that work? And how important is it that your head coach is on board with it too, and it doesn't, as good as you are, that it doesn't bother him that happens?
I don't think it ever bothers them when it turns out like that. It just comes down to making sure the execution is on point. I mean, that happens a lot in the 2-minute because there'll be a conglomeration of thoughts that come together in a short amount of time. And in that situation, we had just called timeout. I just hit Allen on a kind of a vertical peak, gone right to run, called timeout, and was thinking about how I can get Marquez and Tay on the same side while we give a little help to Dennis to make sure he's comfortable. You know, he just came in the game a little bit before that. And then put Devontae in a spot and give him a route that he hasn't run very often, which would be counter to the expected route from that position. So just kind of put that all together in a short amount of time. And it thankfully worked to perfection. Now, again, it had to take Marquez clearing out on that side. Devontae doing a good job with his route, taking his eyes back. We had a nice chip on the right side that slowed down the rush on the right side. We held up strong on the left side. And then obviously had to throw a good ball, and Devontae had to make somebody miss. But there is a lot of trust. And I think early on in the relationship, I remember distinctly a conversation with Matt about the 2-minute that we laugh about from time to time now. But it's proven, you know, the trust is takes a while to, you know, to be fully mature, I think, on both sides. And it just involves a lot of communication. And then it plays, you know, like we had early in our time where I had to trust the call coming in and schematics of that, and he had to trust the adjustments or how, you know, my brain saw a certain play. And it's been fun for that to come together.
Bill Huber.
Hey, Aaron. This is from your friend Rob Domofsky. He's busy talking to Devontae. So after the game on Sunday, you talked about breaking Favre's record for touchdowns against the Bears and how much that meant to you. So what's it going to mean to you to break Favre's touchdown record, period, the Packers one?
Yeah, that one definitely would mean a lot as well. I remember years and years ago looking at the program. We used to always get the program in our locker, and kind of my daily game day routine was to come in and put my pads on put my jersey on my shoulder pads, put my pads in my pants, and then read the program. I do that on the road a lot too. Always interested in what the opposing team and what our own PR team decided to put in the program. There'd be articles in there about players and historical context and certain things, and alumni information, and then records as well. And I remember, you know, I'd go through the records, and, you know, by the time I was maybe a third or fourth year starter, there was a couple, you know, my name was in black, you know, kind of in some of those records as I started to put up some numbers. I remember looking at the amount of touchdowns that Favre had and thinking, oh my God, I mean, I'm not even at 100 yet. How could I ever play long enough to be in the same category as that? But you know, obviously I've been able to stay pretty healthy and have some sustained success. And that's a special one just because the history of the franchise and how long our franchise has been around and how many great players have come through here. And the opportunity to be here, you know, 17 years and the longevity records, as Favre, I remember, used to talk about when he was here, to be a part of some of those, it's pretty cool.
Bill, you can go ahead with your question now.
Oh, yeah. My question's a lot less interesting, Aaron, so I apologize for it. But
Doubt it, Bill. I doubt it.
So you've barely practiced here of late. And yet, over the last 3 games, you're number 1 in the league in passer rating, yards per game, touchdowns per game, yards per attempt, and a couple other things I can't remember. How in the hell is that possible?
Well, as Allen Iverson once famously talked about practice, maybe there's some other things involved in preparation. I've always been somebody that enjoys the practice environment and the competition of practice. I mean, I love competing in any situation, and I enjoy certain parts about Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, especially depending on what the install is. But there's a routine to it that's great and helps you feel comfortable going to the game. Because of the situation with my toe, obviously I've had to come up with a different routine that's worked for me to get me in the right headspace to play well on game day. And I think there's been I don't know, just a good balance between the mental reps and the rehab, and then just allowing the space for the instincts to come into play. It's been, again, not ideal, but I've been able to embrace it and simplify things. I think Matt's done a nice job of really talking to me about what I like and what I think is going to get me in the best rhythm early on, and looking at some of those concepts, and then it just comes out to executing. A couple of those games were at home, and obviously we've had a great home record here, and so that's been obviously helpful. But just comes down to a rhythm, and when I can get in that rhythm, and I've had stretches, regardless whether I'm practicing or not, where I've gotten into some of those real good flow states consistently, and had stretches like this before.
Ryan Wood.
Hey, Aaron, with one obvious exception over the last 2 years, it just seems like your offense is much more willing to go for it on fourth down and more aggressive in those situations. I'm curious, how different does it feel for you than early in your career when it comes to that philosophy on fourth down? And does it change at all the way that you approach the game when you guys are so eager and willing to go for it?
Right, I think that's a trend across the league. I know I've seen a stat, I can't remember if it was on Sunday night or Monday Night Football or one of those, where it was talking about the number of fourth down attempts that are around the league this year, and that's obviously up. I think a big part of that's analytics. As analytics continues to creep farther and farther into our game, people realize how important those fourth down conversions can be to scoring points in that drive and ultimately winning football games. So people are more eager to have it be 4-down territory in certain spots, realize how important a touchdown is compared to a field goal and winning football games. I love the 4th and 2 call. Not just the call, the play call. That was a great call, but the decision to go for it, I think was a fantastic aggressive call. I feel like we were pretty aggressive. I don't know where we would have ranked over Mike's time here on fourth down, going for a percentage, but I felt like we were pretty aggressive, especially crossing the 50. I mean, we definitely would take our shots from time to time, but that's the way of the league, and you gotta keep up. I think fourth downs are such an important part of the game, and I like us being aggressive.
Mike Clemens.
Hey, those programs, there was one story where Favre talked about the cameras on his property so he could track where the deer are back in the day. I wanted to talk about scripted plays. Sunday night against the Bears, they bring all that energy to the defensive line, Robert Quinn, and then you end up having, one of your highest scoring nights of the season. How do you use scripted plays as a tool at the start of the game? And with 3 young guys on this offensive line, do you have to, keep these guys down a little bit to go work through these problems methodically?
Well, I think we obviously it's not like it maybe used to be when you hear about some of the West Coast stuff where they would legitimately script the first 15 plays. Now and Mike morphed to this really, I don't know, pretty quickly in his time. It's more thoughts, ideas that you like on first and second downs. And you can bounce around a bunch in those situations, but it's some thoughts that you like for early in the game. I saw a stat that Tom showed me. I think last year we had a real high number of points in the first possessions, something over 70, close to the top or leading the league. And this year I think we have 20 points. Maybe that could be wrong, but we haven't been very effective early in the game as we have in years past. Now, obviously, we had a nice second quarter the other night, but we need to execute a little bit better starting the game and start a little faster, especially as we move into these critical games where it's going to be win or go home. So that's something we got to focus on. As far as getting the guys ready, I mean, we're ready. We walk through the first thoughts. We talk about them night before a game, and so everybody knows kind of what's coming early in the game. It just comes down to execution, and a lot of times it's lining up stuff, and then there's not necessarily a rhyme or reason. Sometimes you call in certain plays for certain coverages and you get it. Sometimes you call certain plays that you don't get the coverage you're really wanting on certain things, and a play that could be a touchdown play versus certain coverage becomes a check down play, or a kind of a throwaway play. So that's kind of the issues sometimes you deal with. Teams play us a certain way that's often different than the percentages of how they play other teams coming in.
Pete Doherty.
Hey, Aaron, it seemed like a couple weeks ago that surgery on your toe was, definitely on the table. And I kind of get the sense it's not so much now. And I'm just wondering, one, am I reading that right? And two, what's the thinking behind not doing the surgery?
It's not desired for sure, Pete. It's more the fact that it really keeps that toe in place. The type of surgery it would be to avoid any further displacement of the fracture, but it really would lock that into just a straight out, situation. And I just believe that when you're dealing with areas of the body, this is, not just my belief, this is the belief of Bob and, second and third opinions, that when you're dealing with an area that has low blood flow already, your end of your extremities, that doing that is something that would be kind of, if it was absolutely necessary. So it'd be nice to avoid that. Can't avoid, a lot of the stuff that happens on game day. You can just, do your best during the week, hope for the healing that we need. We're getting later in the weeks here since the initial injury. So it'd be nice to really have some final healing, but there's always going to be potential setbacks when I'm playing on it. And if we can have a week where we avoid any major ones, I think we can get past this. But if there's some major setbacks, then surgery is always kind of lurking there. It's just not desirable for myself or any of the people that I've consulted with.
Cassidy Hill.
Hey, Aaron, what goes into making an efficient cold weather running back, and how does AJ Dillon fit that ideal?
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of it's genetics. We look at some of the guys that we've had here that have been great cold weather backs, all kind of got similar body types. I'm talking about Amon Green and Ryan Grant, Eddie Lacy. They're all kind of built the same as AJ. Nobody has the quads that he does, but big lower halves, strong runners, one cut guys who can deliver a blow. That's those guys. So AJ's in that same mold. It's also a balance. I think about, AG had such great balance in his run, and then could get loose and outrun guys. Ryan Grant was always seemed to kind of be like a thoroughbred. I felt like he was always such a high runner without contact, and incredible one cut guy, but also could deliver a blow, and his feet were always underneath him. Same thing with Eddie. Eddie has maybe some of the best feet I've ever seen, other than my man Marshawn Lynch when I was around him at Cal. But Eddie's ability to always keep his feet underneath him was a huge asset when the field gets cold and slick. And I think that's what AJ has learned to do even better this year, is his feet underneath him. He's running behind his pads, and when you got guys that have agility, but are never too spread out with their balanced weight distribution and kind of gait, then you can have guys who can have success on the cold, slick fields of the winters of Lambeau Field.
We're going to do two more for Aaron. Ryan Wood.
Aaron, on the toe, I was wondering if there was anything particular against Chicago that exacerbated the toe, and how is it feeling now?
I felt like there was a tackle, and going back and watching the tape, it seemed like there was a tackle in the first quarter that I remember that bothered me for sure. It was a 3rd and long, and I got kind of tackled from the side. And it seemed like after that, I kind of had some pain, the rest of the game. It's feeling good. I mean, Mondays and Tuesdays are just light days for me, and it's a lot of rehab, both at the facility here and at home. It's a toe, so there's only so many things you can do. A lot of it's just icing and contrast and heating and getting the, tiny toe rub down. There's not a whole lot you can do. It's a bone stem and different things. So it's feeling kind of like it has last few weeks on a Wednesday. I'd like to get out there to practice. To me, other than Friday, it doesn't seem like a strong possibility tomorrow. But we'll see how I feel tomorrow when I come in. Last week I came in and felt amazing on Thursday and almost went out and practiced. But said I'm going to wait till Friday this week. Not quite feeling as well as I did last week, but we'll see. We'll see when I wake up in the morning.
Last one, Bill Huber, go ahead.
The guy who rides in the golf cart with you, he practiced today. I realized that Yash has played pretty well. Actually, he's played really well for you guys. But what would it mean, performance-wise and leadership-wise and all that to get that guy back?
Yeah, that'd be nice to get the big giraffe back out there. He's, obviously gone through a lot in his rehab, and there's been some definitely some low days for him and some contrasting better days. And I think he's in a lot better place now than when he was trying to come back the first time. So that's exciting. He seems to be, feeling a lot better with his knee and his recovery. And yeah, it'd be great to have him back. He's an all-pro player, and I think we're not going to have maybe first team all-pro expectations from snap number 1, but 80% of the big giraffe is better than most of the guys in the league. So it'll be good to get him back out there for sure.